3 years ago, I was, I think, 18. I just graduated high school, and I went to Iraq. It was, I think, 2004, April 7th. But why, like, I just started to have interest in the DU is actually I have been to Vietnam, and you know about Agent Orange. When I just went to the Vietnam, I just just hung around them, and I just went to the hospital. There is a lot of baby and the children who doesn't have arm or legs, and disabled to do something, and sometimes they don't have I just saw kind of a sample which about the baby died. So I just started to think about why it happened, or I just wondering why what I can do, and after came back to Japan, after I just went to the Vietnam, in the high school, I wasn't a good student. I just always try to escape from high school. Just pretend to be my father and call to high school, and Nori is sick, and and I just always went to meeting with a lot of non-government organization member, and lawyer who have action to do something for a social movement or something like that. And I was, at that time I was making, the number of the connection to, maybe just think more about social problem or something, because in Japan basically we don't, I think Japanese youngster is rarely, maybe not only Japan, but the youngster is rarely not focus on, doesn't focus on the politics or social movement or other stuff. Doesn't go to any election to vote, and it's really, how can I say, no interesting. But I just in the high school, I just want to change. I just have a dream to think about how if the youngster or a lot of people have interesting about lots of things, maybe a little the society gonna be better. I have this kind of things in the high school period. So and then once I had a chance to go to an exhibition of the photographs about depleted uranium in the Iraq. The photographer was Takashi Morizumi, who is very famous in Japan to take a picture in the Iraq and Kosovo and other part of the world, maybe about depleted uranium. And I saw a lot of picture which is very, very similar with the damage of Agent Orange. And I was really shocked, that just Vietnam War is 30 years ago, and just we just repeated to give the people or the baby or children who is no related to the war or conflict. We just repeated to have this kind of criminal, so now I'm just at that moment I was facing about the damage of the depleted uranium in this photograph exhibition of the photograph. So I really talked to a lot of my friend who is before I told you a lawyer or non-government NGO member, non-government organization member, and we and they said like, let's do that. So maybe I think 15, you know, like every like generation was gathered, you know, like the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. I just like talked to the member, and we just organized some like organization, you know, try to stop the like DU. Yeah. And we just how can I say, have sometimes like how can I say, making a speech. That's just like invite how can I say, kind of expert of the like depleted uranium, and talk to the people, and you know, this kind of things. You know, like, you know, we just talk, and I met Nahoko Takato, who went to Iraq together and captured together. I just met her, and I really talked to her. You know, like even though like how can I say, I just try to how can I say, I try to talk to the youngster, but they never, you know, they never how can I say, you know, listen to me. So how I can do? I just talk to her, and you know, one thing just came up. You know, if I go to the Iraq, you know, like, and just have, you know, if I just like you know like go to the like realistic of the Iraq, and if I see that, you know, maybe like youngster just talk to me. So I decide to go there, and yeah, decide to go there. I think it was 1 month before I go to Iraq, and I just went to there. And yeah, it was really a hard time for me. Like, you know, after I just entered Iraq, you know, and we were driving freeway to the Baghdad. And I think before the Fallujah, which is near from Baghdad, you know, the U.S. Army just stopped the freeway, and you know, maybe tank or like soldier. It was a really number of them just how can I say, walking, I think, and we just changed the route to go to the Baghdad, and we just driving on this like route, and we achieved some petrol station, and actually I was just you know, we were just like, you know, seeing a lot of people, because like there was a lot of like a line of the car, so we just was waiting, and suddenly how can I say, you know, the masked gunman came to the left and no, front and right side. Masked gunman is coming, and they just have a RPG. Maybe you know that, I think RPG, and Kalashnikov, which is like a machine gun, and they said like move, and you know, this was like, you know, how I just was captured. You know, they just check my passport, and you know, just have a gun like this, and yeah, and I was blinded hold after that, and we was taken. Yeah, so first and the second and the third day, it was really hell for me, because like, you know, always like they asked me really number of time. I think you know, asked me like, are you like spy or something? Because like they just doubt. You know, some of them could speak English, so, and Nahoko could talk to the, you know, Arabic. Nahoko is like one of the member, you know, and we just talk so much, and they asked me like, are you spy or something? And you know, because like Japanese troops was already sent to the Iraq, so maybe they thought like maybe Japanese troops and U.S. troops was connecting. That's why I was doubted by then. Yeah, and but after I think fourth day, like I just felt a little bit free, because like they just put the like own room, and we were just staying there, and they just.
How many of you were there?
You mean like a gunman?
How many people were with you?
2 guys. Like one is Soichiro Koriyama, who is like a photographer, like kind of journalist. to just report about Iraq. And one is I already told you, Nahoko Takato, who is an aid worker. She had been to a lot of time in Iraq, before we was captured, and helped a lot of street children. Try to help the street children actually. Yeah, and for 9 days I was captured, and finally I was, now I'm just in there. I was survived. Yeah, but think about it's different things. But think about hostage died. One of my friend just dead as a hostage in Iraq. Yeah, maybe Japanese. I think 3 of Japanese already dead, and if I just think about other country, a lot of people, was taken and dead. Yeah, I don't know. I feel very strange about this. Anyway, I just and after that I got back to the Japan from Iraq, and it was I didn't. In this moment, I really didn't understand, but really huge criticism was happening in there. Like maybe the one of the reasons I just use the tax to the government use a lot of tax to help me, and other reason is I made people worried about me, and I just how can I say? Can you just tell me? Can you just tell the people
the accusation was he had caused the inconvenience of anxiety to his fellow citizens, and the business about the tax is also all 3 of course had return tickets, and so they were prepared to pay for their flight both directions, but the government insisted that they be flown back in a government airplane and then presented them with a huge bill. And it's also never been clear if any money changed hands from the Japanese government to the hostage takers. But in any case, there's a lot of talk on the internet about these frivolous young people using our tax money, our blood tax money.
Yeah, blood tax money. Yeah. So yeah, that was the reason I think I was very criticized. And I don't know, but there was a rumor, we say 自作自演, kind of I and the other 2 guys just made up that incident. I was captured, because the lot of mass media and the magazine and the TV just saying about me I'm extremely left wing or something, and I how can I say?
Staged.
Yeah.
You had staged that the hostages had staged their own capture. Is a very common and still current narrative in Japan. They did it for publicity, for their own gain.
Yeah, and maybe the people there think I'm really extremely left wing or something, and people thought I just made up this kind of incident, and the 自作自演のことちょっと言ってもらえますか? And on the internet, a lot of rumors just spread it out. I just made up this kind of incident, and a lot of people believe that. And first time I just thought, what's going on? I just how I can just make up this incident in the Iraq. If I have a lot of connection to the Iraqi terrorist or something I can maybe do that, but the surprisingly a lot of people really believe, and maybe and actually last year I just talking to a lot of people who just criticized me at this time, and I tried to contact them, and I have a blog, my web blog, and I just show a lot of how can I say, letter which I got, because after I just had an incident in the Iraq, I got a letter from how can I say, a lot of people who just criticized me. So now I just show you now. Maybe if you understand the Japanese, but yeah, I just know that this is like shine is a die, the mega kimo is a eyes so disgusting, and just give the tax back. And the other picture is like this.
One of the things Nori did after he came back was to open up all the letters his father had left unopened and input them into his computer. So he was transcribing all the hate mail he received onto his computer.
Yeah, and I just, how can I say, I was really, how can I say, kind of interesting. Why like people really, just criticize me without, how can I say, sometimes they got really wrong information, So, yeah, before I just told you like a disaggregate, like I just made up a kind of story, or like, really strange information. They got it, and they still, last year, still they had it, actually. They had the idea, like I was like really strange, or, and I really wonder, like, why like they had like this kind of imagination about me. So I just like, how can I say, put the letter in the website, and I don't know, I tried to, how can I say, talk to the people on the website. And after that, my website got, I think, 300,000 access at the moment, and maybe 6,000 comment. And that particular moment, because like Yahoo Japan and other just news sites just focus my website, so I got like a huge access about that. And this moment I really couldn't sleep because I just showed my cell phone number, so I just tried to contact them. So maybe you can imagine like when they call me, like what they are saying, just get back to the money, or like really shouting like a lot of time. And yeah, but I really, how can I say, was happy to hear like what they are thinking, or what they have an imagination about me before talk to me. And one thing I just learned from this kind of experience, like maybe talk to the people who have a different opinion. Maybe how can I say? And try to know like what they are thinking, or maybe that is quite important. That's why I just tried, I think. But in this experience, I don't know, but I just forgot about thinking about depleted uranium, or like other stuff, like about Iraq or something, because I was focusing on the Iraq war, or like other what's going on about the DU or something, But this last 3 years, I really completely forgot, or no, not forgot, but about to think about it. So maybe now, I feel really afraid to say, but maybe if you just like focus about like a depleted uranium, maybe you just recognize how we don't have a scientific proof of affection of depleted uranium, but this is quite, I think, dangerous, and maybe repeat about Agent Orange, and even like maybe it was used in the Iraq, and actually like a lot of like a U.S. Army, like a soldier, even though they just stayed there, but they were affected, by the depleted uranium, because this weapon is just once used, and the uranium dust just spread it out to the air, and just we breathe it, and to go into the lung, and we don't have a scientific proof, though, but it's going to be really affected, and we have now doubt. And maybe a lot of like a pioneer. I just saw a kind of the documentary, like pioneer of the depleted uranium just learned about the affection about this, But we didn't stop to using about this. And even though Japanese people doesn't know about that this kind of things, but we just sent the troops, and we were just, the Japanese troops was staying there, and we just didn't know about anything about the depleted uranium at the moment. So I really want to say, like, please, like, think about, maybe if you don't know about this, maybe just know about this and talk to the people. I think I think these 3 years I really stopped to talking to the people. I don't know, I really afraid. I always talk to the people who just criticize me. It's maybe strange, it maybe sounds very strange, but yeah. But I just afraid to the friend and the people just supportive to me, and even like the people who just interesting about social movement or something, I just refuse it completely. But maybe if in my case, same, like if I just try to talk to more, like people just, maybe have a power to think about, like life, or like, what we can do for the other stuff, even I have like, your own life, but maybe you can just do like yourself to the world. I don't know. Yeah, now I'm just making a website, like kind of new media in the local area where I live. Because like on the internet, I got a lot of like a really bad rumor, like, and nowadays, like, the internet is really useful tool for you and to me, but the one thing we have to be careful is really, how can I say, the information about like internet or like other stuff is a very affected, but sometimes it can be a really long way. But now I'm just like trying to making a website, and this website is how can I say the 50,000 access a day. You know, it's just now growing up, and the kind of this is like Yahoo and Google. I just like try to make how can I say like a local website for the like a Beppu citizen. Beppu is a kind of very small town, 120,000 people I think only there, but you know like.
You said that there was a lot of hate email to you. Was there any people writing supporting you, or did any groups of people invite you to come speak who were supportive of what you did? Were there any famous writers or well-known people who came out and supported you while you were going through this trouble?
Yeah, there was a lot of people just support to me. Maybe it was like 50 and 50 in Japan. You know, like, but I didn't, how can I say, talk to them so much. This is how can I say, when I just like show the letter to the people, I just got like 300,000 access, but this is the comment, I think. Now you can say comment like 400 or 200.
Like there are a whole lot of people getting a lot of, I don't know, purpose, meaningfulness in their lives by sending their criticisms into him every hour of the day.
Is it mostly Japanese?
Yeah, entirely Japanese.
Was it also present in mainstream media or only online? Was it in like big TV channels and big newspapers or only?
In this time, it was just only a website, only on the internet, and in this time, I just found like a lot of people just some people, some of them is really how can I say criticize me and just like to give me sometimes advice. But this website, if you just maybe read the Japanese, some people really how can I say excited to criticize or like writing about a really cynical comment, and they just made some like continue to make a comment and reply, and in Japan like this kind of things like we sometimes call a festival on the internet, and it just happened on the internet, so yeah.
I can't remember the mainstream, like the Sandai Shimbun, this mainstream media. They reported the attacking on you when you came back. They may also have reported support for you. I mean, of course, there were many people supporting you, but the entire nation was focused on the attack. So there was much more mainstream media space given to criticism, given to coverage of the criticism. So it was very hard. You would feel very isolated trying to defend him. And in fact, I myself had the experience of seeing a kind of petition started by a faculty member of Tokyo University, and it was circulated around the country, and actually an academic who was going to be my host for that year said, this is fascism, that is to say, intellectual academics' action to protest what they saw as a very dangerous situation in Japan was deemed to be fascistic by another academic. This effort to say there's something wrong in this country, to close down on these three young people as if they had committed the most grievous crime of all.
Because organizing itself is mindless?
No, I don't think so.
Is that why this is fascistic?
No, this was meant to be fascistic, I think, more explicitly in a way that did not make sense to me, though.
Were the criticisms coming in from the Japanese people because you were trying to publicize the problem of DU, or simply because you had gone in and had been captured and then cost a lot of money to get out?
Yeah.
Has DU been talked about? Is the root part of the problem?
Actually, like the criticizers focus on like just I went to Iraq and I just did attacks, and I just made a lot of concern to the people. That's why I just criticized, and the DU was not so pay attention to the people, because like completely like disappeared, I think. But I don't know that these 3 years completely I just couldn't see information about the depleted uranium, so I can't see now can't say like exactly, but maybe a lot of people doesn't know about this. So.
It was, I think, also important not to let DU become a focus of this discussion, because the self-defense forces in Samoa are going to be in a place where there's a lot of DU from the Gulf War. So Japanese soldiers were going to be exposed to this. Better not to have it a topic of discussion.
Who do you think ought to be responsible for the DU in Iraq? Like, whose responsibility is it to take care of it?
It's not only USA, I think.
Not only.
UK, they have like army, and they maybe sometimes use maybe depleted uranium because it's so cheap and very effective to the to the battle. And I think maybe a nuclear power station just like making depleted uranium, and and after that the weapon was made, so it's not only like not only like USA just have a responsible about that, I think.
How has it been in your university, making friends, and how have your teachers received you since you started at your university?
You mean like talk to my friend, just like talk about me, or?
Yeah, just living in the university. Have people like opened up to you and tried to be friends with you, or have you been attacked there?
Since like 2004, I just had like incident. Like a lot of people just like recognize my face, and even my university, knew my face, But I don't know. Everybody asked to me, but I just really never talked to them. So I mean, I never talk about this topic. So, but what I want to say now is maybe I'm now just this like 5 days I just seeing my things like I had, and I couldn't have like a positive way to I couldn't have I couldn't think like my experience is really positive, but now I'm just really just take part in the kind of like action, or like how can I say, just now making a media which you can't see now, but maybe just it's a huge website nowadays. Nowadays like, becoming really bigger, and from like a local site, local like area, maybe we can just express something like we are thinking, So now just like having an interview to the like a lot of company, it's maybe kind of like entertainment. But now I'm just how can I say, having an interview like to the like a soldier which took part in the World War II, and went to like other like a battlefield, and because like young people doesn't know about a lot of things about like Asia Pacific War. So I'm just like expressing. I just try to express or just like talk to the people on the website, and maybe otherwise I will just make some video on the website and try to make a document from now. So
You're interviewing a lot of old soldiers, right?
Nowadays.
Yeah, and you might put that on your Beppu site.
Sure. I can write the URL.
BEPPO. .com ですね。www. I forgot that.
So check it out.
Sorry, I just couldn't say a lot of things to you, but if you have
So please ask questions, I think.
how do you find the overall response to the war right now? Is there a change between the support for it from the Japanese people when it began 4 years ago versus right now?
You mean now like Japanese people really support the war?
Did they ever really support the war? And in terms of the activism, even
Before like how can I say, before I just came here, like we had a class and we were just talking about this, but maybe all the time same in the world, like if the war just start, I mean before the start of war, a lot of people just how can I say like disagree or I don't want to get a war or something, but after just start a war, they just change and little by little just gonna be agreed, and in Japan same. I think Japanese troops was sent, I think in the 2003 December. But before that, like people just didn't agree that maybe only 60% was disagree. But now they completely changed. Maybe only 30 or 40%.
Disagree, oppose. Discouraging direction.
yeah.
There are other hands?
I know this is sort of a difficult question, but if you could go back, would you do it again?
You mean at that moment?
Yeah, would you go back, knowing what you know now, would you have gone to Iraq still?
だから行きたいもう
話が聞くんだったら、それでもまた行きますか？
I now but if I just think about the situation of the Iraq, it's completely different from 3 years ago. So I can't say easily to yes, I can't say it. But if I can, I really, but if I can, I really wanna go now.
So you're asking if he regrets it?
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, do you feel that what has happened has been valuable and useful? And do you feel that all the things that you went through led to something positive or something that maybe in the future will turn out to be positive? Maybe it's too early to.
But I just feel like sometimes really, I just think I'm not a victim. I mean, even just I got like criticism from the Japanese, and I just really even just feel like criminal. So I can't say exactly. I just really, want to just go Iraq, or like I just want to go again or something.
Well, one of the frequent accusations is, what are you going around behaving like a victim for? As if you had somehow been victimized both by your experience there and particularly the subsequent experience in Japan. And so I think it's really important for you to say, you in fact don't feel like a victim. Maybe. Maybe. You say it. Yeah. And there's a hand behind.
I was just going to ask about the conditions of your release. About that, or if it's kind of a mystery still?
A condition?
どうして解放されたのか、その具体的にまだもう知ってるのか。
Or what happened?
Actually, like the government say they just negotiate and and we were just released, but I really don't know because like one of the military men just like told me before release, like because like Nahoko, who is an aid worker, is really how can I say, talk to them, like she just tried to help the people in the Iraq. And even we are just while we are just captured, like she always like try to talk to them, and just why like you don't just throw away the weapon, She always like gets angry, even like they have gun, and talk to them. So And one of the gunmen said, like, we just, because of Nahoko, or some, but we are not sure because some like how can I say, reporter in the mass media, I talked to them because like he was one of the criticism to me. So I just like tried to meet him, and he said to me like, the government all pay the money. That's why like you were released. But I just he said I have information from like government. So
I wanted to see if I could call up a document from our chalk site, which is a very compelling letter that was written by an Iraqi to the captors at the time. And it was a kind of discourse that we certainly never heard either in the United States or Japan at the time. So I'm hoping we can call it up right now, in which the captors are addressed as brothers. Because there was a great deal of grassroots organizing to try to save them, to get them released. No, that's okay. On appeal on behalf of the hostages. Documento ka. Okay. This is an English translation. Oh, that's just my. Can you scroll down? Okay. So those of you who can't see, brothers, God bless. Assalamu alaikum. God blesses you for what is good for our nation. Our prayer for God to remove this grief from our country. We wish that you would receive this letter. God knows that it is an honest letter. This letter is for God's satisfaction, to inform you what you don't know about your Japanese lady prisoner, Nahoko. She is, as we saw that in Al Jazeera Station, one of the 3 Japanese prisoners. We don't have any doubt that she and the other 2 Japanese will have gratifying care from you because our religion ordered that. And that is what we learned from our great-grandfathers. We are not writing this letter to evaluate what you have done or what you're planning to do. And also, we are not writing this letter because we are supportive for coming of Japanese army. Either they are normal army or they are protect army, to participate in rehabilitation of Iraq, as Japanese government is saying. The only purpose of this letter and the photos attached is to let you know that Nahoko is the last person which should be taken as a hostage in case you must take hostages. This Japanese lady was very desirous from May 2003 to be in Baghdad voluntarily, personally. From that date, she is spending her personal money to feed, clothe, and treat the homeless Iraqi children, because she spent all money she would save for herself a long time. Goes on talking about her. She couldn't save enough money, able to bring gifts for the children they are still waiting for their Japanese mother, Nahoko. You took her as a hostage in the same day that so many people were waiting for her in Baghdad. Brothers of Saraya al-Mujahideen, on behalf of ourselves and many Iraqi orphan children, we entreat you to release the 3 Japanese hostages, especially Nahoko, so forth and so on. If God wishes, it is a good example for the love of Japanese people, for Iraqi people. If God wishes and you release those 3 Japanese, you will give Japanese people a good chance to do what we and you want. Japanese people were always in the friend side in the Iraqi causes, while many of our brothers in religion and nation were watching only. The imperative is for God. And on this listserv, which is a group I belong to called Violence Against Women in War Japan Network, which got really started around the Comfort Women issue, after this letter was released, and there were people writing into the listserv saying, I used to call them the criminals, the captors, the way the government and the media are saying, but I'm going to stop calling them the criminals. And this kind of, I think, grassroots activity on behalf of the hostages was very moving, as kind of, for me, what post-war Japanese peace and prosperity enabled, that you had lots of people being interested outside the United States and Europe, that there were enough connections of peace activism to get a letter like this produced. I don't know if you remember, but you and Nahoko appeared in Tokyo in July that year, and there was an Iraqi man who was a guest, and he was the owner of an internet cafe in Baghdad, and his cafe became the center of the rescue operations, and he refused to be paid at all for the use of these people camping in there to try to coordinate the rescue. So it's not at all clear, to go back to your question, who most instrumentally secured their release. the government naturally will take credit for it. Many will credit the government, and there springs the discourse of what a burden they were. But there was a great deal of organizing, and particularly religious organizing, to secure their release.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything more? Do you think it's right? Yes, Other?
I remember your family went to the in 2004, and I was wondering how they reacted after you got back under this wave of criticism.
How his family reacted when he came home.
My brother was, I think, really got angry because, people's reaction, and I just get back to the home, and, he said, I can't walk the, road, because people know the face, but he just changed now, so it's okay. But my really supportive, especially my mother, so it was okay.
Your mother and your grandmother were supportive even of your going in the beginning. So, and I think all the hostages and their families lost their freedom to move around because they lost their privacy. Even until now, in some cases, depending on where he goes. Like going to Narita Airport to come to Chicago was already kind of an ordeal for him.
Yeah.
Is there a hand back there? No.
Does he think that the letter email campaign against him, was it spontaneous or was it organized by?
Spontaneous, I think, not organized. Like I don't think it's not related to the mostly like a right wing, a lot of a majority just really get angry with me. But the things is I don't want to say it's it's one. I'm not just one of the hostage, so I can't say from me. But the things I want to say is sometimes really, how can I say, big people, the majority really want to just find some enemy or something, and writing a letter and talk to them, and emailing, and a lot of people is like this, So I just saw people just changing, and it's not like waste of the power, So maybe if just wanna maybe try to talk is very important, Even you don't have to maybe give up, I don't know how I can say, but.
But you've also said several times now that you don't like to talk to supporters, but you've talked to the enemy a lot.
Not enemy, but yeah.
Well, people who presented themselves as very hostile critics to you. So do you think that you're going to be ready to talk to supporters too?
I don't know, but really, I don't know, but I will really try, from now. So I don't know, but this kind of event is for me especially kind of counselor, for me. I don't know. In Japan, I really couldn't talk like this. So.
Why you didn't like to talk with supporters? Because they made you hero, or?
One of the reasons is this, but I don't know. I can't explain, but.
Did you hear the question, everybody? Yeah.
Some of the students in my university just talked to me I just read your book and I just stopped talking.
You just feel embarrassed or just恥ずかしい? Not like that?
Not like that. I think I just afraid people know me. So, but I have to maybe, how can I say, recover myself, and maybe I don't have to have action, but maybe try to talk and have to think about like the social things is really really important. So I just now have a website and stimulate the people to think like more. Maybe that's what I can do now.
Did you find some serious or meaningful or rational criticism of it? I mean, most of them are meaningless. But I mean, I don't know, but did you find some criticism meaningful or really you want to?
Yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, like you should be careful more or something. Like, yeah, of course, yeah, I understand. But if they say like this, I have to say yes,
There's a question way up back.
The impression I got from you is that you want to raise public awareness of the EU, but beyond raising the public awareness, what is that you want? Like, what do you think the Japanese can do, the Japanese government can do?
Sorry, like that.
Could you speak up?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe even stand up. Please.
So you seem like you want to raise public awareness about the EU issue, but beyond raising the public awareness, what do you think you want to happen? Like, what do you think can the Japanese do, the Japanese government can do?
Maybe like in Japan, like we have a kind of like a very special things, like a kind of like we have a Constitution 9, and I'm really thinking about this is a really whether this is a really good or not sometimes, but how can I say? That maybe not only like how can I say Japan, not only a Japanese government, but like how can I say? My kind of like aim is how can I say? We even like we have a kind of like a potential for the violence, but we can just little by little maybe reducing like a conflict or war. Maybe I think war or conflict is a kind of like very biggest violence in the world, and it's kind of like a power to kill the people. So if we just like reduce like, this kind of things, and try to like reduce this kind of things, maybe, and if we just have how can I say interesting about like a more war, that kind of things, like we can maybe think, I don't know like now, just now start to think again, so I can't say exactly, but
there's a move by various groups around the world to ban DU weapons. And I think the government of Belgium just voted to, as the first nation state in the world to adopt such legislation with something about, because it has all kinds of NATO troops and material there, but with some limits. So that is one thing that's going around, is there's an international effort to say that these are not weapons that ever should be used, because their consequences are so drastic and for such a long time. But you're obviously trying to think about this in the larger context of conflict, and to get people to, we've talked a lot, and you've talked, and people have speculated, what is it that's made young Japanese so apathetic? Is it the long period of consumerism, prosperity, and now the dispariting from the blowing up of the bubble and so forth and so on? But indifference seems to be like one thing you're really struggling with. Sheer indifference.
I was just thinking about that when you said that like support for Japanese troops in Iraq has gone up rather than down. So when I'm thinking about your experience, you said that maybe this reaction to you was because the majority needs an enemy or something. But I'm thinking, if you had been a soldier and you had gone through this experience, I mean, this whole, you're wasting taxes, you're wasting this. I mean, it's just, it's nothing that you have to exactly comment on. It's just a comment of mine maybe is, on the one hand, there's the support for the troops to go to Iraq, and that's not seen as taking away somebody's holiday, for example, whereas you are. So this is like, you know, it's something about your activism rather than you know, going to Iraq or wasting government money or something. There's something very particular about, you know, what you were doing and what kind of you know, how that affected people's minds. That makes sense.
But even now, I just don't know. Like, I was really, how can I say? I just did the right things or not. So.
Yeah, sure.
You were saying that when you talked with people who were your critics, that you learned a lot about where their anxieties were coming from, and just kind of like the presentation of 50% or more, or all these comments, and it just seems like the severe anxiety, like, you know, like, where is this anxiety coming from? And, you know, the idea of how your activism might be problematic, you know, kind of rocking with the, like, this period of, you know, like, and especially, I'm kind of curious to know, do you know what age group is responding to you? Do you know, is it cross-generation?
Cross-generation.
Yeah.
Like, 20 and the teenager and 30s, 40s, 50s, 60, until 60s, I think. I talk.
Yeah. And what did you learn from, I mean, when you were talking with people and you said that, you know, some people have changed or their views have changed and you're talking to them. Where was the anger coming from? Because that severe anger is not just against you. You know, it doesn't seem, I mean, from what it doesn't seem like it's just, you know, like this, all this anxiety is being focused on you, but it's coming from something else.
One thing maybe they really, when I insult somebody, I think, because like, you know, they want to find somebody they can really insult, you know.
その必要性が今の日本の社会のどういうところから来てるか推測できます？なんか彼女が読んでる限りで随分不安感からああいうバッシングが出されているようだけど、その不安感って何なの？
Maybe I think not like how can I say unstable things, you know, like people just think like find out some like
some other object that's not, you know, something that doesn't belong to their own bodies, their own society. Some, what is Mary, purity, danger part of that which one wants to cast out. Different from, of makeup from me, on some very visceral level.
Maybe that is one reason.
I guess. And you were interpreted that way, you think, as like an alien.
You mentioned that your critics are people who went from teenagers up to their 60s, and maybe you just stopped talking there, but you made me wonder if people who are older, in their 60s and older, people who remember the war, have a different response to you?
Older.
60以上のもっと だから戦争知ってる世代は
No, no, no. It's same completely. So.
And in fact, in Hokkaido, belonging to the conservative ruling party, former head of the self-defense agency, Minowa-san, Minowa-san 70代だったっけ?
80代.
80代. In his 80s, the former head of the self-defense agency offered himself as a substitute for the hostages. So, I mean, that is pretty dramatic, to have a conservative politician charged with the military say, I will go release these young people. And so, in fact, many people said in Japan that it's the wartime generation, the old generation, that in some ways are the most precious resources for peace in Japanese society right now.
Thank you so much for your sharing the experience with us. I came from Korea, and when the students were involved in activism, its impact is not just like abstract society out there, but it starts from family and friends, and especially when you've realized that there are totally just unexpected reactions were coming from your own society. How did your family deal with that? And whether you find something about your family that you didn't expect to find as you dealt with these reactions from out there?
わかんないな。Sorry, just interrupt the question.
We'll come back to the question.
Yeah.
There it is.
There is, yeah. Why I didn't show it, I don't know why. But this is our website. Sorry, interrupt the question. But yeah, just now it's kind of like Yahoo and Google. We're just making a local version, but yeah, this is a YouTube, and now we will try to make a kind of a documentary, and after just goes on the show on the website, and other stuff maybe you can see food or music, and kind of entertainment, and we can just get a lot of access and maybe pay attention, and after that, and we will just I will just make some kind of news, reportage about a lot of things. And so yeah, that is our website. So, yeah, now you're here. Okay, just get back to the question. Yeah, now actually, my family is really, really, how can I say, supportive. So now complete, how can I say, but the connection of our family, relation is really, really not becoming much better than before. So it is a really good thing. Really there, just support. Always I just have. If I just have something really bad, I can just talk. And really.
Did they get also the reactions that you got from their friends or relatives, or is it just something? I'm trying to figure out whether there's some kind of a special impact because of the internet, rather than just face-to-face communal setting.
どういうことですか？よくわかんない。
ノリに対しての攻撃はご家族にはなかったのか、つまりご家族がインターネットとのあれがないから、彼女の知りたいのはもしかしたらインターネットとノリが関わってるからこういうことがあって、ご家族はインターネットとは別の世界だから、そういう攻撃には出会わない、少なくとも同じようには出会わないですね。No. Yeah, the internet seems to admit that. But your brother does internet.
But not so much.
Not so much. But letters you received as well. Yeah. But his father didn't open them.
My family didn't see that, so I just opened it and I just.
I was curious about what other people would say to your father, your mother, or brother. What would be the narrative?
Actually, Hokkaido is a really, how can I say, liberal part. So it was really okay. Circumstances was really supportive. So
But
in my
it's
case
not all
was
Hokkaido. Nahoko has a much harder time. You know, the woman who works with the street children of Baghdad has a much harder time because she's from a military base town in
Yeah.
Hokkaido. So she and her family are under much more intense attack directly without the internet intervention.
I think the public criticism is starting toward your families first, right? Because
Yeah.
you were in Iraq.
Yes, that's a good
That's a good
Yes.
point.
That's a really good
Even
point.
if they had the chance to actually look at those discussion boards or those websites, but they got so many criticism.
I think because the fact that they wanted their children to be saved, the 3 families, was seen as a selfish claim that was being made in public. And it was really ruthless kind of criticism leveled at the families.
Did you get much response from people in the Middle East? Because I remember following this at home, watching Al Jazeera television, and there was constant commentary and people who really felt so sympathetic, although people, of course, were angry about the war, but I know, across the board in the Middle East especially, they were well aware of your humanitarian efforts especially.
But I think I didn't get any message from them.
Probably the lack of access, but otherwise it was there.
And nor was that reported in Japan, as far as I know, which is also tragic.
Can I ask how much were they talking about DU on Al Jazeera in relation to his name?
I don't remember exactly because I think they had mentioned probably that that's what they were there for, but I remember the focus was mostly on, the captures and all of that. And
I guess I want to say, as a plug for the film being screened on April 20th, the director, Kamanaka-san, is somebody who knows, they know each other, and she made a very long documentary, which we'll also try to screen during her visit, which brings together depleted uranium victims in Iraq from the first Gulf War, Hiroshima, Nagasaki victims, and the victims of Hanford, Washington State, from the plutonium weapons plant there. So it's trying to look at victims of radiation as inhabiting the world now. And this plutonium film is kind of building on that. So I urge you to see it. There's a hand way back there.
How do you think you would react if you weren't a hostage? You were part of just the regular society. It's like an invisible outsider. How do you think would you react to the situation?
どうですかね、なんか。
イラクに行ったんじゃなくて、一般の日本の市民としてこの人質を見てたらどういうふうに。
ああ、そういうことか。I think I support them because, yeah, of course,
As many
it's
people
very,
did.
yeah.
How did your friends react from high school?
It was really hard. Some people really believe I just made up an experience about Iraq, and they just never contact me. And some of my friends just really try to just send 署名ってなんていうんですかね。
Petition drive.
Signature just sent to the government. It was really good, but
I guess I can also say that our speaker on May 3rd, the feminist lawyer, the 15-woman lawsuit, is someone who is in her early 70s. And she told me that she went right away when news of their capture came out to spend the night outside the Prime Minister's residence, because she said, seeing his face, she said, that would have been me 30 years ago. So I have to go there now. So there's kind of a linkage between all our guests.
What extent or what impact, if any at all,
Sorry?
I'm wondering what influence there might be from the Prime Minister's visits to controversial war memorials.
Do you
think that it all has shaped or stoked the flames of criticism against you?
最後ら辺聞くのだったんですけど。
小泉さんはその他の靖国参拝が作り出した構造とか雰囲気が人質事件に対する批判とつながりなのか。
I don't think like how can I say kind of like a nationalism or like something like a Yasukuni stuff like doesn't relate to the like criticism. Some of the people just like sent to me a letter is a right wing, but it is not like a mostly. So how can I say that majority like その大衆ってすごいものすごいなんかすごいなんかなんていうんですかね時々すごいなんかものすごいものを見つけるとすごい攻撃しやすくなるというか。
Maybe I mean, this is my editorial remark a bit, and then I'll translate. The frightening thing is that the majority of the attackers are not right-wingers, but ordinary citizens, and he's saying sometimes the masses find an issue and rush to it. And it doesn't require an ideological orientation or anything, or prior preparation, although I think we can be looking structurally at all kinds of things. But I do want to say that in one of the blogs that's translated, for those of you who managed to get the reading packet, you'll find that, one of the most hated entries, a very easy target today in Japan is North Korea. So someone commenting in his blog will just suddenly start in the middle of something, out of nowhere say, hey, you thinking of going to the north these days? And at first when I read it, I said, north? Why is north coming up? Then, 2 comments later, I realized he's referring to North Korea. Now, Nori has never had anything to do with North Korea. But he's now made himself available to connect on to any other hate object. And so it expands from there.
I actually asked the same question in the last class, but my point is, so what do you think making this, as you said, like festival or carnival like atmosphere of the Voices internet community in these days?
What the cause, you mean?
Yeah, what is causing that? I understand it's a really hard question. I'm just curious about it.
Maybe in Japan, like we don't hide the name and just like criticize is really, really easy to wait to get out of stress or like maybe on the internet like we can just hide the face, and the very, very kind of like it's entertainment to enjoy like with the tool, So maybe that's why like little by little like how can I say this kind of like the wave is very stronger than before, I think.
How widespread is like activism on a global scale in Japan, and what's like the common reaction to it, I guess, among the Japanese public? Not like if there wasn't a hostage situation, just like global activist affairs.
Sorry, can you just say me again?
Yes, I was wondering how widespread global activist affairs are in Japan, and how the public reacts to them in general. Just news of like Japanese people helping in other countries or being involved in other issues, like in the Middle East or elsewhere.
You mean like as a news or like?
Environmental activism or health or things like that?
ですよね。I think it's not so big, really. And especially in the news, like we can't see like how can I say, activity of the like how can I say demonstration or and we never especially like we have a problem with maybe TV like they really want to get like how can viewer so they don't show lots of the things about the war or like Iraqi, because it's if they just how can I say broadcast about like Iraqi war or something, but they don't people doesn't see it, so that's why like how can I say maybe like kind of like the action about like social movement or other stuff is never just it's not famous, I think, and
that letter I was writing the poster of that letter I read out earlier to get her permission to put it in, and she said, and I said, I think this is one of the finest moments of post-war Japan, and she said, but this is exactly what they've been criticized for. Say, if you're crazy about doing volunteer work, why do you have to go to Iraq? Do it in Japan. And she was observing Nahoko, who is now in her mid-30s, that for her generation, international activism was taken to be a good, unquestioning. But for people younger from her, the whole change in the educational system that I referred to earlier seems to have made young Japanese much more, on the one hand, introspective, and on the other hand, contemptuous of other Asians. And so, in that sense, Nori is also very exceptional for his generation. She said. I'm not saying he said that.
I'm really afraid.
In his loneliness, he might confirm it. But
yeah.
I mean, I think the presentation sort of has brought two elements to the table, which is one being, of course, your experience in Iraq, and the other being this sort of experience you have with the internet in Japan as a community. And I wonder how you feel, because even though you've sort of shut out this Iraq or DU piece over the past 3 years, you're active in making these portal community sites. And I wonder how you feel as someone who has been the subject of criticism fostered in this sort of online community. How do you feel your responsibility also as the creator of online communities is? Like in what ways can you incorporate your experience into your work in that area? As a website developer, making portal sites, what's your responsibility based on your experience?
Like now I'm just kind of like my like university student, but I can't say like I just if something happened, like a big things happen in Japan, but I just can't report as like as much as like like a reporter can do, but now I'm just like what I can do is like maybe like in the Kyushu, like maybe something happened, like I just if I can say like other part of the things, maybe other view, because like a majority really find out as kind of like very like how can I say one way, or sometimes only a few ways, just like they want to just see it, But if I just can find like other view, other side of the view, I just say it, and maybe I can just express it, and I can just talk to them. I can talk to the people, and I just show it. I think maybe that kind of things is maybe very important from my experience, because maybe like a lot.
And is that what you're attempting to accomplish when you create, say, people that problem or something like that you see?
共同体も作ろうとして、インターネットコミュニティを作ろうとしてます。
でも大丈夫ですか。
And he was saying earlier in class that, for example, there was the Aum, the religious group that disseminated sarin, a highly toxic element, chemical, in the subways, and that he said, I mean, he wouldn't agree or approve of that, but he'd be very interested in talking to the people in it, rather than simply calling them terrorists. So I think it's that kind of thing he's getting at here, is what can he do as a journalist producing an online community. But maybe, Andrew, you were also asking, what precautions does he want to take so that people don't get injured? Is that what you're asking too?
Possibly. I think, I mean, to say precautions sort of presumes a bunch of other things, I think, as well. But just because it's what he's active in now, and I think there are lots and lots and lots of portal sites, both in Japan and around the world, that I mean, to make it so local becomes a process in active community building, right? And either how do you want to shape that community and what they're thinking, or how do you want to select it? Because you could also present these sort of alternative viewpoints and have a self-selected group of supporters come and read it because they're interested in news of that type. But I feel like there's also the possibility that by making it a geographically local portal, you attempt to include people based on some other criteria than ideologically or based on their interests.
あれですよ、なんでだからその地域のところに、
地域にやることによってただ思想的信条者だけじゃなくていろんな人が入ってくるから、だからその例えば、オウムなり何なり事件の報道されないものをインタビューして載せたいって言われたけど、それはただいろんなポータルにでも載せられるけども、地域的に限られたところに載せることによって思想的なり何なりが共有してない人もそれを読むことをあるだろうし期待してる。
But actually, like one of the reasons why like I just really focus on the like local things is, like always like now we are just seeing about like a global site, But actually, if we just just see the like local things and maybe like the I can just use like a big mass media and if they just like how can I say just see the like a local website, and if we just how can I say become like one of the like a big local website, and the people just really paying attention to us, and we can just express a lot of how can I say the view, So that's why like I'm just like a big building how can I say local website, and even very small, and maybe we can just if this model just succeed, I mean as a local website, and just this local model is just gonna be spread out to the like other local, and we can just how can I say you not use. We can just cooperate with like local people, and we can just think more, I mean, like we can get a more like different idea from local people, not like from only global things. I mean, not only Tokyo or not only Osaka.
Maybe one last question over there.
Part of this is also kind of clarifying a question. Were you also asking what sort of precautions he would take if the website could be so large and it incorporated so many people who may not necessarily believe the same way that he does, who taking actions that, I mean, when you mentioned people getting hurt, you said that presupposes many other things, but were you talking about with a geographically large demographic or population using the website, communicating their ideas, if that could pose certain risks?
That's the reason I don't want to say precautions, because that presumes that he would be exercising censorship of some kind.
Which is also...
And I think, I mean, that could be a danger in... But I think that could be a danger in also saying, I want people to come here and talk about this, or, yeah, right. It becomes,
そうですね。
it becomes, in a sense,
Mm.
his responsibility for the sort of discussions that take place as a result of both his report and the way people come together in that place.
Which I think is really interesting because yesterday when we were looking at channel 2 or new channel, it showed that there, I mean, it essentially looked like there was no moderation on the boards to stop. I mean, what over here on the forum we would consider like hate speech and probably been deleted. So, I mean, I guess I would just like to know how Nori feels about censorship of those sort of things, or if that shouldn't be taken care of. Because over here, I mean, there are certain things that wouldn't be allowed to remain online.
だから俺が別府にいいことでってことですね。リスク。
だったら何の管理人が何の検閲みたいにしないでしょ。でそのアメリカだったらオンラインに許されないような表現が2チャンネルだと残ってるけど、その別府を立ち上げた人としてこういう期待を持っている人としてアメリカでいうヘイトスピーチみたいなものを許すか、そのまま表現して出しとくか載せとくか。
出した方がいいんじゃないかなと思うんですけどね、僕はね。だって見た方がいいわけですからね。
Thinks it's better to leave it up for people to debate.
Maybe some people can feel it's really unacceptable. Maybe people just if the people just like see like comment it's really bad, but some people really recognize it's now like we are just seeing like the technology or internet, but now the behavior of on the internet is really, how can I say, now constructing, so but if we just like see and just study how to behave or something like, and we can just maybe improve a little by little, so that's why I just leave this kind of comment.
If you see his website, his blog, you'll see that there's a lot of unacceptable speech that's been sent in by other people and left there. I think you've all been really patient in this hot and cramped space, and thank you. If we have any food, please take it and ask him more questions.
But really,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you today. I just.